Good evening. This is Edward with sonsofgod.com. It's Friday, February 15th, 2013. We'll title this word, Impartation is a Way of Life. As we continue in our pursuit of change and resurrection life, we're constantly on our face before the Lord to find the keys, to find a deeper understanding of exactly what we're dealing with in the whole realm of spirit, and to leverage that to our benefit in bringing forth the changes that have to happen during this time. Impartation is a word that's not used a great deal in Christian circles, but impartation has been spoken of readily in our book and in various words. So most of you, I'm sure, are aware of what we mean by impartation, which in essence is what Christ did when he died on the cross, imparting himself to mankind and the sins of mankind upon himself. It's a conveyance, one from another. I've spoken before that there's really no true communication without impartation. In other words, to communicate means you're imparting, you're giving of yourself, you're giving of Christ. If that is not happening, then true communication is not happening. So impartation is probably at the crux of so much of what we're dealing with right now on every level. And it would behoove us to understand impartation, to really let it sink in, so that you really understand a little bit more about the dynamics of your soul and your spirit during this time. The whole realm of transference is a realm that has been set up in God. It is not something that has been set apart specifically as something available only to the sons. It is just an aspect of the spirit world. Just like we have gravity and other aspects that are principles, that are truths or realities on the physical plane, so impartation is a truth and reality that both exists on the spiritual plane and it exists on the psychic or soul plane, and the plane of the mind. It is not something that you can touch necessarily, and you can only see it if you have your eyes enlightened, where you can see the essence flowing out to another and vice versa. It's definitely a visible commodity, you might say, both in the psychic and spiritual planes. It is definitely very tangible, very real, very substantive. It's interesting, in the natural plane, we think of everything around us as being very tangible, very real. It has matter, and so substance, and so we accord reality to it. In the spirit realm, unless that's where you're abiding, to us on this plane, everything seems a bit ethereal, a bit whimsical, a bit elusive to quite touch on. And yet, if you were abiding on that level, all of these things would have as much substantive reality as what we see here on the natural plane. So, in essence, what am I saying? I'm just saying that impartation is a very real, hands-on, viable commodity, energy, principle that exists on the plane of the soul and plane of the spirit. Not here on the natural plane, so to speak. I mean, you could say in its very rudimentary form, perhaps so, but we're not talking about that. What we need to understand, and we brought a word at one point called the one world of Christ in the book, the Manifestation of the Sons of God. Let me see if I can tell you what chapter that was. It's an important word to really understand and to experience And here again, it's in section 4, page 74. It's so important that you understand, I understand, that all of God's words have to be experienced. That's the only time they become real. And we also have to understand that there are planes of experience, planes of reality that we come into as we mature, because our energy, our vibration changes. We literally, as it speaks of in Zechariah, we are ascending Mount Zion. We are rising in our vibration and in our energy. And so as we continue to come up higher, everything gets redefined every time. It becomes a whole new playing field every time we come to another level in God. What we need to understand about impartation, well, let me finish my thought here. In that word, the one world of Christ, I make a metaphorical comment that we live in a world of spirit, and you could almost visualize that like living in a vast world of the ocean, and it's all about you, and you're immersed in it, and that is the truth. We are so immersed in the realm of spirit, and yet the mind would not see it that way, of course, because we're natural beings. But go with me here for a minute and just let it sink in. You are living and have your absolute abiding in the world of spirit. I'm going to phrase it that way because you're living a dual life. You're living in the natural plane. You're living in the spirit. And then we have this gray area, the realm of the soul and the realm of the psychic. You might almost say that you're living in 3 dimensions at the same time and overlaps, but I won't take it that far. We'll talk about 2 things, the realm of the natural and the realm of the spirit. You are living in the realm of the spirit every moment of every day. You are not a carnal son of God stuck on a plane that is not affected by everything around you. The truth is that everything that is happening in the spirit world is touching you. Some people in the natural call it the butterfly effect. If a butterfly flaps his wings in South Africa, it's going to have a dynamic over here. And scientists are basically in agreement that yes, there is such a thing. They don't really even understand it, because we know it's in the realm of spirit that these things are functioning. And they pertain more to the sons of God and to God's word and to God's moving than they do anything else. And as we spoke of once again in the book, as you change, you are affecting everything on every level of creation. It's like dropping a pebble in the water, and it radiates out change. This is happening. You are living this right now. You are experiencing this right now. As you go to bed, when you wake up in the morning, you are immersed in a sea of spirit. And you may not be aware of it yet, or just a little bit, but it doesn't negate the truth that you are living in the realm of spirit. The sons are destined to live in his presence, a very unique place in the realm of spirit. You're called to live on the highest plane, the realm of the presence of the Lord, the presence of the Father. That is a very real, substantive reality. I'm kind of lost for words here, but I want us to understand. Every moment of every day, you're living in the realm of spirit. You have your abiding in the spirit world. Consequently, things that are happening in the spirit world are affecting you. You may not read it that way. You may not understand it. You may not see the connection. You may not have the insight yet or the eyes to see it. And so you equate it to a lesser level and say, well, it's got to be this or this or this. And concerning the sons, 90% of the time, it's not what you think it is. It's happening on a realm of spirit, and you're being affected by it. And it's important to us to have a baptism of understanding, if you want to call it that. Something that washes over your consciousness once and for all. That you realize you are living in the realm of spirit every moment of every day. And consequently, everything you do has an effect, cause and effect, if you will. And things that are happening in the realm of spirit are also affecting you. We have a tremendous capability of change and of changing things as long as we understand it and we begin to use that leverage as sons to speak a word into the spirit, to have a paradigm within our mind that just says, I will not accept this, 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 this. We begin to live a certain way that has a dynamic effect across the thresholds of so many other planes of existence. Only this evening in intercession, it was so real, it is so real, that the enemy would love us to settle, would love us to accept oppression, accept limitation, accept delay, accept a half measure, all under the guise that it's God's dealings and it's, well, God just, I must not be doing the right thing. It's a process and so on and so forth. And I'm just here to say, hogwash. Hogwash. We're not buying the lies. We're not buying the illusions. The truth is that God is here and He is desirous to see these things completed within His sons. And the doors are open for change and transformation. And limitation is not in our dictionary. And the enemy would love for you to just hold on to something and say, well, okay, fine, maybe another day, I'm still working through stuff. No, absolutely not. Today is the acceptable day. Isn't that how the word goes? Today, if you hear His voice, ooh, my goodness, ooh. Today, if you hear His voice. Today is the acceptable day, not tomorrow, not yesterday. It's today. Predicated on one thing, if you hear His voice. Are you hearing Him? If you hear Him, you realize it's now, it's today, it's not tomorrow, I'm not waiting, it's right now. Because today, if you hear His voice, of course the scripture says, today if you hear His voice, harden not your heart. But I'm saying, today if you hear His voice, change happens. It's available to you. God, the Lord says, I've made all things available to my sons. All things. As long as we see it. As long as we hear it, we understand it. Okay, so I'm getting off course here just a little bit, but it's all tied together. But I want us to understand the principle of impartation. Because everything moving forward, everything is conditional and evolves around impartation. The change that has to happen to you and me, the completion, impartation. The change, the communication that happens from one son to another, impartation. What I have, I give to you. What you have, you give to me. How? By impartation. Bypasses the mind. Not interested in the mind. Not interested in the psyche and the soul. But it's spirit-to-spirit communication. And I saw this some time back as the sons break into this level of abiding. There is such a oneness that everyone knows literally what everyone else is thinking. Nothing is hidden. There's not a bunch of walls. It's just open. And the communication happens. The tracking happens. The impartation happens. It's a whole different life than what we've known, being holed up, blocking all of these things and having to deal with the soul and all the dynamics therein. We walk in the Spirit and everything becomes light. All of it becomes light. There's nothing to hide. And we move with the spiritual oneness. It's phenomenal. But I want us to understand impartation. Because Every moment of every day you're living impartation. Okay, so let that settle in. You live and have your abiding in the realm of spirit. Of course you have it on the natural plane, but I'm talking about the spirit world. You are known. The biggest problem we're having is the lag, the massive lag in awareness that still exists on the sons of God. But that is changing. That is changing. It just needs to change a little bit more quickly. But everything that about us is impartation. If I speak to you, you might understand the words, or maybe not, but it doesn't matter. Because if it's in God, the impartation is going to touch you, and it's going to change you, and it's going to deliver the goods. We're not talking about just ideas here. Like, okay, I got a new concept, I feel unwrapped, I understand. No, we're talking about delivering the goods. Spirit, the essence of God, is conveyed one to another. That's impartation. What Christ did on the cross was more than just what we understand. He delivered, conveyed himself to us. We're still working on accepting that and receiving it in the full level of its power. But impartation, as you give one to another, its essence. So what am I giving you? I'm not giving you thoughts and concepts and things you can ponder over in your mind, but we're bypassing the mind and we're delivering the goods to the Spirit, and the Spirit says, good, I'm taking this, I'm eating this is good. And the change happens. So I just want us to understand everything that's happening concerning his sons evolves and is wrapped around impartation. Now, you can take this on the flip side, and I think we need to, and we need to understand this. The enemy knows the principles of the spirit world extremely well, far more than we do by any means. And he understands impartation. And there's a great deal of negative impartation that continues to assail his sons. You could call it, basically, what is witchcraft? Witchcraft is taking negative impartation and conveying it to another. It's kind of a very simplistic definition. But basically, we're constantly dealing with that. Now, you could say, well, there's another word for that. Impartation is one. The other, really, if you want to call a spade, is transference. Impartation, transference, very interchangeable. But transference, you can understand. The enemy takes that upon another, puts it upon you, transfers his thoughts. If you're open, will just transfer into you, just like a dump truck. Open up, just dump that stuff right on you. That's kind of an odd type of impartation, but transference is a better word for it. Whereas what we're experiencing in God from the Lord and from one son to another is impartation, in the realm of impartation. But it's extremely important that the Lord bring a much deeper experience of understanding concerning impartation and transference. The sons do not need to be playing catch-up any longer. In the Gospels, it talks about how the sons of the evil one, paraphrasing, are wiser in the ways, than the sons of light, but only for a season. And so we've been playing a tremendous amount of catch-up, and in the process have been deterred on the left and on the right by transference, by witchcraft, by just garbage. And we've had to throw it off and sort it out and realize, oh, this is not me, and you can keep throwing it off. But anyway, that's just, like I said, that's the flip side. And it's important that you understand that, because every time you go and you talk to someone, if you're open to them on the wrong level, in a relationship, who knows, whatever, negative impartation can come. You can walk away oppressed with a headache. You can walk away having lost your faith for the day, because it just was, there was an exchange, but it wasn't a positive exchange. So it's something that we're constantly dealing with in the warfare against the saints. Because the enemy is not stupid here. The enemy knows how to pull the buttons, how to do what needs to be done. And it's all in the scope of impartation, transference, soul bonds, all of that. So it's very important that you understand how these things come into play in your life, because the transference is right there at the door constantly, because you are walking in a world of spirit. And consequently, all of these things come into play. And the enemy knows that and has used relationships, has used any number of things to bring transference on the sons, to weigh them down, to blind them, to get them distracted, introverted over issues that really aren't issues, illusions. And it's important that you understand that, because you need to maintain your freedom in this pursuit. So then back to the positive side, and understand that everything that's happening to you on a positive scale is impartation. Every time the Lord appears to you in a dream, in a word, in an inspiration, or through a word, however it comes, it's more than what you think it is. It's not just an aha, great idea, understand that, I feel better. No, understand that it was an impartation that came, because your abiding is in the realm of spirit. God is imparting to your spirit, and change is happening. And as your spirit changes, the rest of you begins to follow suit, the physical and the soul. We'll need to do another word where we just talk about the soul and the suke, because there is still a huge area here that is coming under the lordship of Jesus Christ within our soul that is not entirely there yet, in the process, but not entirely. But I know the end result to all of this is that the lordship of Jesus Christ will not be a theory. It will not be a platitude. It will not be a teaching. It will not be something that you mentally understand. It will be an experience that expands. Now, we all know what I'm talking about, but I'll tell you, even for Ann and I understand the lordship of Jesus Christ. The experience of that needs to go a lot deeper. And it will. But we just have to be careful not to assume that we have it all down. And you say, oh, lordship of Jesus Christ, got it. I know what you're talking about. We don't. We don't. We do on a certain level, but we really don't. Because everything in the scriptures, everything that God is doing, must have a living embodiment. When Christ came, what did they say? He was the Word made flesh. So the sons must be the Word made flesh. The concepts, the theories, the doctrines go to the wayside. They all must have an embodiment in a people. The Lordship of Jesus Christ ceases to be a concept, ceases to be a teaching that we love and embrace, but it goes deeper. It saturates deeper. You realize the Lordship of Jesus Christ is an experience, and like every experience in God, expandable. Never think that one experience is it, that's it. It's an ever-expanding. His Lordship, I don't know what to say here, but the reality of His Lordship is a deeper experience than what any of you have experienced, or myself. And it's going to go deeper now. His Lordship is going to go deeper, because it's not concepts. We're not talking about a kingdom of concepts. We're talking about a kingdom of experience. We're talking about experience is a way of life. Comes back to this whole realm of impartation, because it's all an impartation that comes from the Father to us, from the Holy Spirit to us. We receive it, we're enwrapped, we experience it. So, every moment, every day, you are living and abiding in a world of spirit. And if you want to get really wild and woolly, you could say, yes, you're abiding in the place where the angels are, where the Menahunis, the fairies, all of them, they're all here. They're all here, and you're walking and living amongst them, but just not aware of it yet. But it's all very vivid, very real, very tangible, and it's all part of you. And consequently, the spirit realm affects you just as you affect the spirit realm. Your changes affect the spirit world. And that's why it's so important. Even the words you speak, and we haven't really delved into this too much, but the living word is in the earth. And that living word is the word you're speaking. And that's why the word you're speaking is so important, because it's effectuating change in the spirit world. And those that are living in the spirit world are responding to it. They cannot help but respond to it, because it's God. God's word is being spoken in the realm of spirit, and the whole realm of spirit is shifting and changing. As the suns are ascending, things are so tied together in such an unusual matrix. We don't even understand how far-reaching it is. But we've spoken of it in the book, how far-reaching the presence of the suns in the earth during this time is, and how important that presence in the earth is. We don't know yet. We're knowing more and more. But Lord, let us not limit you by virtue of what we've known in the past. The Lordship of Jesus Christ is going deeper. Everything that God is doing is becoming a much deeper experience to us. We're growing to understand that we live and walk and have our abiding in the realm of spirit, but we're being called to the highest level, the realm of His presence. And we're ascending Mount Zion. We're en route. And as such, we are not unwise any longer. We understand the principle of impartation. We understand that there is no true communication without a vicarious impartation, one from another, the Spirit to Spirit, the Lord to us. And when impartation comes, we know that it's not theory, concept, or some mental gyration. It is change. You change, and you keep changing. We also understand that within the scope of all of this is the realm of transference. Pretty much very similar. Transference can be positive. Impartation, we kind of put those together. Or it can be negative. It can be the assault that we live under day in, day out. Understanding it. Understanding how it has its inroads into the suns and beginning to move with leverage over it. So I bless this word to you this evening. May it expand within you. As a seed that is planted, may it be watered, hastened quickly, Lord, because it's an experience that will be expanding every moment of every day. And we bless the realm of spirit. Know the suns have come. The suns are being positioned. The suns are standing shoulder to shoulder in this hour. It's time to see the completion of God's handiwork. And I know the spirit world is very attentive to what's happening within His sons right now. Ann and I send our blessings. Amen.